Hi everybody, this is Bill from HowToVanish.com. Your home address can be a really private piece of information. You might not want other people to find out where you and your family live. Most of the time, you can give out a ghost address, like a P.O. box, to prevent disclosing your actual residential address, the place where you and your family sleep. That means that even really resourceful snoops will probably only be able to find your ghost address if that's the only thing that shows up in most database records. But there's one place where a ghost address, like a P.O. box, just can't be used, and that's on a driver's license. When you get a driver's license, you are required to give out your actual residential address. And if you move, you have to update it with your new residential address really shortly after moving. Just having that information in a DMV database can be a problem. DMV databases contain millions of records about lots and lots of people. Each one of those records can be really valuable to identity thieves and hackers, making that database a huge target. Pretty much the whole world knows that the government does a horrible job at protecting their databases, even databases of top secret and classified information. They do a terrible job at protecting those. So I hate to think how well the geniuses at the DMV are protecting my information. But what can you do if you pretty much have to give the DMV your home residential address? There's actually a way to legally drive in the US without disclosing your home address. In California, and probably in most other states, it's legal to drive on any valid driver's license from another state or even another country. There are really only two hurdles you need to jump to be able to legally drive with that foreign driver's license. First, you have to find a way to get a foreign driver's license. And then second, you have to avoid the requirement of getting a local driver's license. So how do you overcome that first hurdle of getting a foreign driver's license? Every country is going to have its own processes and requirements to go through. But usually, to get a foreign driver's license, all you need to do is to be a permanent resident of that country. Now, everyone's situation is going to be different, and every country is going to have a little bit different thing to do to become a permanent resident. But a lot of places, for the cost of a couple $1,000s, you can become a permanent resident of that country and be qualified to get a driver's license there. To legally drive in California or probably other states on that foreign license, you also have to overcome the second hurdle, which is avoiding the need to get a local driver's license. In California, that means if you become a resident of the state of California. If you are there for a temporary visit, then you're not a resident and you won't have to get that local driver's license. Now, with residency, there's a lot of things to consider, but essentially, if you're a permanent resident somewhere else, you probably aren't a resident of California and won't need to get that local driver's license. The good thing is, permanent residency is flexible. Some people have a lot of control over where they're a permanent resident. So if you can, make sure to pick the right place for your permanent residency. There's a common misconception that the amount of time that you spend in one particular place is going to determine where your residency is. Now, some people mistakenly think that spending more than 6 months somewhere makes you an automatic resident. But in California, time doesn't necessarily control where you're a resident, and that's probably true in most other places too. It can be an important factor, but a lot of other factors could also play into where you're a resident. Since most other factors are completely under your control, time becomes much less critical and much less important than most people think to determine their residency. So becoming a resident and qualifying for a driver's license in another country and avoiding being a local resident where you are might require a bit of a mental shift, a different way of thinking and approaching the law. It requires making the most of those rules and using them to your advantage. It's a lot like a basketball team. In basketball, a lot of times a team will foul a lot on purpose towards the end of the game to stop the clock and to give them more chance to catch up and win the game. They usually use that strategy if they're losing, but it's a way that they can use the rules that exist to their best advantage. This strategy might also be more feasible for some than others, but there's a lot more people now who can use these strategies to protect their home address and protect their families. This is Bill from HowToVanish.com. use your powers for good.